Hello, my friends. How are you? Rabbi Abe here. We're going to talk about Capricorn. We are shortly going into, from the point of the lunar month or Hebrew month, we're already into Capricorn, a few days, but we are shortly going into the solar Capricorn. And so I want to talk about Capricorn because if you're a Capricorn or if you have something in Capricorn or you just want to understand the framework, because it affects all of us kind of in a similar way, you can't be a spiritual person if you stay a Capricorn. Sorry. And what does it mean to be a spiritual person? Go out of the box, go out of the framework, have new things in your life, have the power or the energy of the universe behind you if you're just like a regular Capricorn. So let's understand what that means. First off, what do we know about Capricorn? And we know Capricorn people are ambitious. They're responsible. These are the words of Capricorn. Responsible, trustworthy, to a point. Well, we'll get there. Practical, very practical. They can be patient. They can be wise, reliable, disciplined. They work. Life is about work for a Capricorn, and therefore they can be workaholics, which would lead me into kind of the more, I don't like to say negative characteristics, but more of the areas of karmic work. Tikkun, we call it, correction, which would be stubborn. It is an earth sign after all. Earth signs tend to be stubborn. They can be pessimistic. They can be really controlling, materialistic, very materialistic, and rigid, and, playing it safe all the time, not taking risks. Sometimes you need to take risks. Not overly emotional. It's not, necessarily Capricorns being warm and fuzzy, even though, they're soft inside, but in the external, outside, not soft and fuzzy at all. Quite the opposite. Kind of cold feeling. I'm not saying that they are cold, but they can feel cold and unemotional and can also be quite judgmental. So, what's the secret here? What is the secret here? And Capricorn, again, ruled by the planet Saturn, and Saturn in Hebrew is Shabtai. Shabtai. Now, Shabtai has within it the word Shabbat. What is Shabbat? What's the difference between Saturday and Shabbat? Well, Shabbat is a certain kind of, for lack of a better word, if you don't know Kabbalah, the Sabbath is a religious day, a day of rules, a day when we don't work per se. We do, but not in a spiritual way. Again, requires explanation. And again, for most people, it's, and I'm talking about those of a Jewish faith or even those, maybe you're a 7-day Adventist and you celebrate, anyone who celebrates the Sabbath understands there are certain rules to that day, and maybe you just like to rest on that day, even though it's not really a day of rest. So what is it? What is it actually? What is the Sabbath really? Well, the truth is the Sabbath is a day which, according to the ancient sages, it's a day full of spiritual light. Now, the quality of light is at rest. Okay? Now, that may not make sense to you right now, but that means light doesn't move. Light is a perfected state. Perfected state doesn't move. Movement only indicates a lack to be fulfilled, okay? When there's movement of any kind indicates a lack. No movement indicates fulfillment. So, if you perfectly fulfilled, everything about you is fulfilled, and even in your mind it's fulfilled, you're not worried about anything, nothing, you don't have to itch anything, you're not hungry, actually you have no reason to move, okay? We don't really have a state like that in physicality, but the Sabbath is supposed to be that, a state of non-movement, not that you don't move, is that the energy that's available is one of non-movement, meaning a day full of positive energy, which is complete. That's it's a tiny bit, a very tiny bit of the understanding of the Sabbath according to the Kabbalah. Now, it's quite the opposite for a Capricorn. Why? Because Capricorn are constantly in moving, constantly, they even, if they want to play, they have to work to play, okay? Because everything is about work. Everything is about, creating. And the Sabbath, one of the things you don't do is create, okay? Because if it's already there, what are you doing? You bring it down by your creation. Okay, without going into that discussion. So, what is a Capricorn? What is this energy? How is it affecting us? And how do we make the best, all of us? If you're a Capricorn, or if you're just, want to know what to understand from the energy of Capricorn, because we know every constellation affects all of us, okay? It just does. So, trust is a big thing for Capricorn, and I spoke about that more on the Scorpio channel. You want to hear more about that? Go to my Scorpio channel, Rabbi Abe at Scorpio, okay? And in that, we talked about Scorpio together with Capricorn and so on. But again, we talked more about the trust issue over there. What I want to speak about over here is the dichotomy, if you will, that Capricorn faces in order to go outside of their box. Because Capricorn must go outside of the box to achieve the best things in life. Or, and this is the choice, achieve the best things in life, maybe even easily, or not so easily, or be confined to what we call nature. Because we understand through the Kabbalah, there are two basic dimensions. There's nature, and then there's what is above nature. Now, what is above nature is outside of the box. Oh, we can call it, not understanding how we were in the right place at the right time. We don't necessarily know how we got there. Seeing the right thing that we need to see, being, avoiding problematic situations, all those, the types of things that are outside of nature that we might even sometimes call miraculous, but it's outside of the box for sure. So we don't necessarily know how it happened, how you chose exactly the right thing, but you understand and you acknowledge it's exactly the right thing. And you don't know how it came about for you. Yeah. So, okay, you understand that in general, but if you're a Capricorn, you might not understand that. Why? Because you believe that it was about you. Because Capricorn is generally confined to the physical. And I'm not trying to put down Capricorns. It's the nature of Capricorn to be confined to the box that we call physical, practical, logical. All these words that we can assign to the constellation of Capricorn. In fact, this month for all of us together. So, and that's why Capricorn says, trust me, because I'm the one who's going to make it happen. I'm the one who's doing the work, whatever it is. It's about me. And it doesn't even have to be in an ego sense, it's all about me, but it's all about me doing whatever needs to be done. Okay? So that doesn't mean a bad thing. It means I believe I'm the responsible one. What Capricorn doesn't necessarily know how to do is break out of that box of 1%, I would call it, physical, meaning not giving credit to a higher power, not necessarily even relating to a higher power. That's why, as far as spirituality goes, Capricorn and spirituality don't necessarily go together. Capricorn and religion, yes, they can go together. Because religion for a Capricorn can be a good thing to do. It's moralistic. It's, gives me a framework. It tells me what rules are. And Capricorns happen to like rules. They like rituals. They like, to do things in a ritualistic way. So religion is good for a Capricorn. Okay? Which, again, religion has nothing necessarily to do with spirituality, not at all. You can be a very spiritual person and not religious. And you can be a very religious person and not spiritual at all. And it sometimes works out that way. It's rare to find a religious person who's truly spiritual. That's the honest truth. Sorry. But if it doesn't apply to you, that's great. That's great. Okay? So understanding that religion is only a set of tools and not, just rituals because you do that and that's the way you do it. No, that's not what those tools are about. I want to read to you from the Zohar, and it has to do with the energy, happens to be of this week, but it happens also to relate to any form of breaking out of frameworks, okay? Breaking out of frameworks, which is exactly what Capricorn needs to do. Break out of the frame, okay? And it relates the story, excuse me, relating to Josephh and Judah, one of the 12 tribes, brother of Joseph, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. And it says, Boe, come and see, the Zohar says. And I'm reading from the portion of Vayigash. Vayigash, it's, if you're in old printing, page 205, excuse me, the section of 71. And newer printing would be, in the big Zohar, that would be 205, also until 72. All right. Bore, come and see. Lost my place. Kishabara Kadosh Baruch Hu et haolam. When the Creator created the world, Kol yom vayom asa et malachto k'ra'ui. Each day there was another concept of creation, which we have to understand what that means. And through Kabbalah, we can understand the principle of creation. It's not what we think. It's not, creation of the world in 6 days, and God created the world in 6 days. Actually, no, not according to Kabbalah, not according to the Zohar. Actually, these 6 represent different energy levels and a creative process of consciousness. Has nothing to do with God. If God, we're talking about God is all powerful. Does he need 6 days to create a world? Can't he just snap his fingers, if he had fingers, and just, poof, just create the world in a single thought, consciousness? And maybe that's the way it actually happened. But nevertheless, okay, let's go with the Bible story, because it's a nice story. He created this process, and it says, B'chol yom asa k'mo shetzarich, and he did everything in each day. Again, represents levels. 6 days represents 6 levels. 6 levels. He did what was needed to do. Kevan sheba yom hashishi, and when the 6th day, again, it's a level. When the 6th day came, hutzrach livrot adam. He needed to create man. A man includes, okay, don't think it's chauvinistic here. Man includes male and female. Both are contained in one soul. Ba'alefanav Torah. So the Torah, meaning the letters and all the secrets, came to the Creator. That's what the Zohar says. The Torah came to the Creator and said, Adam zeh she'ata rotze livro, atid hu lachis otcha. He says, this man which you intend to create is going to upset you. It's going to make you angry. Im lo ta'arich apecha. If you don't lengthen your anger. Okay, so now God has anger. And the Torah is telling God to lengthen his anger. I guess God needed to be told. Mutav lo shelo yivra. You know what? The Torah says, better for you that you wouldn't create him. Better he wouldn't be created. Amala Kadosh Baruch Hu. And so the Creator, the Holy One, it's not exactly Creator, the Holy One said to her, the Torah is a her, you think it's for nothing that I'm called Erech Apayim. Now, Erech Apayim is a term which is used in what is called 13 attributes. 13 attributes. There are 13 attributes of the Creator. One of them is called Erech Apayim. Erech Apayim, V'rav Chesed Ve'emet. There are 13 different attributes. Erech Apayim means the one who lengthens his anger. Okay? Not exactly is the same as mercy, because mercy is already mentioned. Rav Chesed Ve'emet. He's full of mercy and truth. So, okay, anyway, what's the difference? We can't get into it, obviously. Much more conversation and a longer conversation. I mean, I don't want to make it too long. I've been told it has to be under 15 minutes. We're already at 16 minutes, so I don't know. Let's see if we can make it short. But he says, The Torah says, listen, it's going to make you angry. And unless you lengthen your anger, it's better that you wouldn't create him. Better he shouldn't be created. And the Creator says, you think it's for nothing I'm called the one who lengthens his anger. And this is the end of the conversation. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean? Of course, the Zohar goes on to explain a lengthy, of course, and more complicated explanation to what's actually going on over here. So it's a conversation between the Torah, between the Creator and the Torah. Where did the Torah come from? Well, it said the Torah was before creation. Okay, that's also a good piece of information to know. In another place, it says also something very interesting. It says the angels also came to the Creator and said, listen, similar idea, why are you going to create man? He's just going to make you upset? He says, so the Creator answers to the angels, listen, I created teshuvah. I created repentance before I created man. So, yes, he'll make me angry, and then he will do teshuvah, and then I'll be happy with him. What is this? What is going on over here? Is the Creator like a human being? He has emotions. He gets angry, or then he gets happy, and then he has mercy, but then he has judgment, and then he needs to lengthen his anger. I mean, really? I mean, this is the Creator? We're talking about the Creator. In fact, the ancient text of Kabbalah says, Creator? We have no clue even what it means. We don't know what Creator means. I mean, what we can understand of the Creator, and this is what we'll talk about in our crash course coming up very, very soon, mid-January. We are looking at the second Sunday in January. Information, email, info@rabbieabe.com if you want information how to register. But we can't never understand the essence of the Creator. But what we can understand is light that emanates. The light that emanates, and this is what we all want in our life, the light that emanates from the Creator. This we can understand. Creator, no. Light, yes. Because this light that emanates from the Creator has a mechanism. It's not just, haphazard, coincidental. No. There are rules to its operation. And that's why we need the knowledge, the wisdom of Kabbalah. What does it have to do with Capricorn? Well, it's saying, and it has very much to do with the energy specifically of this week as well. Again, it's always. But it says something very interesting. Again, I mentioned Judah and Josephh from the Bible. Now, what do Judah and Josephh represent? Okay? Are they just like, is it a nice story? Because, in the week's portion this week, Judah is going to meet Josephh. Well, they met, in fact, last week, but, there was a whole story. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. Eventually, he was taken out of the prison by Pharaoh to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. And Pharaoh was so impressed, he made him prince of Egypt in charge of the food and the money. Okay, so now we're in time of famine. There were 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. Joseph's in charge. The brothers come to buy food. It's a whole ordeal. He gives them a very hard time, sends them back to their father. Anyway, the bottom line is they are going to meet, and they meet formally. Joseph already knows them. They don't know him, and they don't recognize him. Judah now meets Joseph one-on-one with the other brothers. But he starts telling him, listen, he goes over the whole story of why they have a father and it is and that and whatever it is. The Zohar explains that we're not just talking about two people over here. Joseph represents the pipeline, the spiritual pipeline. In Kabbalah, it's called Yesod. Yesod is the bottom of the tree of life, not the very bottom. The very bottom, it's called Malchut. This is Judah. Judah represents the physical world, the energy of the physical world. Joseph represents how the energy of the spiritual world, or the tree of life, comes funneled. It's a funnel, funnels down to the physical world. Does it just come automatically? Well, certain things do. Thank God. We don't have to think too much about our heart beating or, a lot of other things that we don't need to think about, thank God, because if we had to think about them and actively do them, we probably wouldn't be able to exist. But as for the things in life that require our energy input, a creative process of some sort, yes, that does need our energy. And in other words, it needs our energy in the sense of some sort of creative process. Life isn't free, meaning you need to do something for it, generally, unless you steal in some way. Well, we can steal physically. That we call a criminal. We can steal energetically. Well, that's a spiritual criminal, but we're all guilty. Okay? We're all guilty because we steal energy of happiness. We steal energy, instant gratification is really a form of theft. How do we know that? Because stolen energy we don't get to keep. It doesn't stay, which might account for most of the energy in our life. It's great when it starts off, this high, but then it goes downhill from there. That's only an indication that we don't know how to receive. Crash course. Because we're not born knowing how to receive. We're born knowing how to take. It must be that way. So we're not putting it down, but it needs to shift as we get older. We need to learn the rules of receiving, how to properly receive. Part of those rules are Judah meeting Joseph. What does that actually mean? Means that the physical world has nothing to do with the spiritual world. Yes, in a certain way, it's a mirror. The physical world is a mirror of the spiritual world, but the spiritual world operates with its rules. The physical world operates with its rules. And they don't necessarily go together. There is a clash. What do I mean? Well, in the spiritual world, I'll give you a quick example. In the spiritual world, I'll give you an example of high school. Let's say girls and boys. When a boy wants a girl, right? He likes her. What does he do? He chases her, okay? And what should a girl do if she's truly interested, really in him, more than just casually, okay? She'll say no. At least that's the way it used to be. No, she'll play, what do you call it? Hard to get. What happens? Now he has a bigger desire. He has a bigger desire. It's human nature. He has a bigger desire for her. The desire expands, and eventually what she gives, and we're not really talking about boy and girl, we're talking about how energy forces operate. What she gives will be much more appreciated. Human nature. Do you appreciate something you have all the time? No. We tend to appreciate something which we don't really have yet. And therefore, in relationships, the way it tends to go is when a relationship is new, you do everything, anything and everything because you want the relationship. Unfortunately, they culminate too quickly today, and too quickly they end because you got what you want, whatever that is, and they tend to be over rather quickly. You see, the spiritual world is the opposite. If you forget something like a piece of information, the name or the telephone number, which you know, and, you try to bring that energy in, the phone number, the thought, you try to pull it into you. For the life of you, you know it. It's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't think of it. What is the universal spiritual rule? Let it go. We all know this. Let it go. The quicker you are successful in letting it go or even pushing it away, playing hard to get, you know what happens. Boom. Now it comes in. See, the spiritual world, and again, you really want to understand the mechanism, again, you must attend a crash course with me, okay? info@rabbieabe.com. Why? Because the spiritual world must contain a clash, a resistance. It's like the filament in a bulb. Resistance makes the light go on. Now, I can't explain that if you don't know about bulbs. But resistance creates energy. You want to get strong in the gym? You don't lift weights that are easy. You must lift weights that create resistance. What happens? You build muscle. Without resistance, no growth. Without resistance, nothing happens. That's how the spiritual world operates. But in the physical world, it doesn't look linear that way. What does this have to do with Capricorn? Well, Capricorn is Judah, okay, is represented by Judah, the physical network of everything. Practicality, I'm logical, trust me. What must the Capricorn do to tap into the spiritual world? And again, wherever we, any of us, Capricorn or not, wherever we are limited by the energy of Capricorn that we all have within, because we all have all 12 constellations. That's why these are always important for all of us, not only for that sign. Then we need to go out to truly break free and to tap in to an unlimited force. I need to overcome my stubbornness. If I'm stubborn, that's my nature. I need to relax. If I'm pessimistic, I need to break out of that frame and transform some part of at least that occasion where I'm, seeing it as a down. No, break out and say, no, I don't understand it, but I know it's going to be good. You know how difficult that is for a Capricorn to do? Crazy. It's like death, maybe. Okay? If you're a standard Capricorn. Now, I did say in the Scorpio video, and I'll say it here as well, if a Capricorn is truly successful in being spiritual, they can be more spiritual than any other constellation. Any other sign of the zodiac, they can be more spiritual. Why? Because they have it waiting. The letters of the month of Capricorn are the ayin and bet. It's the force of wisdom, like Scorpio. It's the force of wisdom that's waiting. But it can't come without the clash between Judah and Josephh, which means the clash that is between the physical world and the physical traits, physical characteristics, and the spiritual world. Spiritual world is not about trust me. It's about trust the universe. Trust the system. There is a system. I don't always understand it. So what? It works 24/7. I want to work 24/7, but I can't. I'm a human being. I'm a human Capricorn, and I do need to rest sometime. The spiritual system never rests. So, again, even though I want to work all the time, no, spiritual for a Capricorn, take time off, relax, get out of your work, make play part of your work. Again, these things, if you understand the flavor of where we're going with this, it's getting out of the 1%, being willing to get out of the 1% limitation, physical limitations, to go beyond and to connect to the spiritual world. Yes, for Capricorn energy, great to meditate because it's totally unlike Capricorn. Learn about spirituality if you have that energy. If you're not, so inclined, go against your nature. You're going to find amazing things, and you will. Why? Because it's against your nature. There's a rule that I'll repeat over here. I've said it before. But the rule is, when we go against our nature, any of us, go against our nature for the sake of a higher purpose. I'm not talking about, it's not my nature to rob a bank, so I think I'll rob a bank now. No. For a higher purpose. For the sake of helping, sharing with others, even for the sake of self-betterment. When we go outside of our nature, we will see a miracle. Nature will go outside for us. That's called nes in Hebrew. Nes in Hebrew comes from the root word lanus. Lanus means to run away. Run away from what? Run away from nature. When you run away from your nature, you create a miracle in your life. This is what I have for you. Happy Capricorn. Be blessed, everybody. Remember, this is the month where any one of us who go outside of our box, whatever our box is, each one of us have one. But when we go outside of our nature, especially the materialistic, the 1%, the physical nature, we will create miracles. We'll tap into the energy of wisdom, and we'll see amazing things happen in our life. Be blessed, and I'll see you very soon on the next video. Thank you so much for watching the channel. All the best.